to Mic Check Waifu Waifu.
Check waifu waifu. Ma, tell them, is that you? I feel like I used that last week. Is that you?
Yes. This New Year was happening.
Is the first episode of 2023, episode 185 of Mic Check Waifu Waifu. As always, it's brought to you by Loot Complex and Don'tTalkShop.com. Shout out to our Patreon producers, the ones that support this podcast and get early access to the video versions of the podcast, as well as access to the bonus podcast, The After Story. Sorry guys, I'm a little out of it. It's a new year. I'm leaving Ohio. This is my last night in Ohio, and I drive back up to down to Houston tomorrow morning. So forgive me if I'm a little lethargic, I guess. But shout out to the Patreon producers, AB, Aaron Brown, Dre the Goat G, Johnny from Shogo High, Ked the Pro from Chaotic Culture Podcast, explicitly Monique Williams, and our boy Nachi. Thank you so much for producing this and many other episodes of the podcast. We truly appreciate you. Some of y'all coming up on a year of support, like AB. February 4th, he'll be producing this for a full year. So shout out to you. Dre the Goat G in June be supported for a full year. Johnny, we appreciate you for supporting. And then, wow, Kent the Pro's coming up on a full year too of producing this episode as well. So, and explicitly is almost 3 years. Jesus. Thank y'all so much for the love. We appreciate y'all so very much. It helps us out quite a bit. This is episode 185. Now, the thing with 185 is that still the winter anime isn't quite out yet, but we do have a stacked show for you today because we started a new year off with a review. A review is coming in the second half of the show for a show called Love Flops. Now, we know a lot of people didn't watch Love Flops, but what we're going to do in the second half of the show is at the beginning of our review, we're going to start off with non-spoiler thoughts of the full show. Then when we start to get into our review, our patent review, we're going to go into full spoilers and what we thought of the 5 categories. Now, we have 5 categories that we rate. Actually, we're going to get to that a little bit later after I ask my brother, how you doing? How you doing, Tel?
Man, I'm good, bro. I'm really, really good. As I told you, my leg's kind of sore right now because me and Monique did an at-home leg day with the some of the new equipment that we got in. And bruh, it's feeling good. It's good. It's always good to have some wiggly legs when you work out. But it's a new year. Always got some new goals, some new stuff to do. Excited to see what this year brings. I'm just, I don't know, man. I'm feeling real good, bro. Real good. How about you?
Same. I spent a lot of time here with my family. I absolutely enjoyed every bit of being here and spending time with them. It's been absolutely great. Saw my nieces and nephews, not nieces. I only got one niece, but niece and nephews. They all are getting big. The one thing about being so far away from my family, now I love being in Houston. The one thing that's hard is being away from my family though, because they are like, it's nice to see my nephews and stuff grow up. Let's just put it that way. You know what I'm saying? And being this far away, it's kind of hard. You don't get to see them all the time. But to be fair, I'm gonna just be honest real quick. Even when I was there, I barely saw them. So, which is a problem I know that I need to solve, but I digress. Tel, before we do the review, we also got another special episode today because we're going to talk about our most anticipated for 2023, which I think is the perfect time for the first episode of the new year to talk about our most anticipated shows of 2023. Now, lo and behold, funny enough, it's a lot that is actually coming out that I didn't even think about. Quite a bit. So we are in for a treat today.
Oh man,
how you want to do this? Most anticipated of 2023. Do you want to do a top five?
I'm gonna be entirely honest with you.
Talk to me.
Choosing the top five sounds so difficult.
It's a lot of shows.
Let's do that. Let's do sheesh. I think a top five would be cool. And yeah. Let's hit top five. Give it a go.
Maybe we can add some like honorable mentions after our top five is over. You know? Why not?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So, who want to start at number 5? Actually, before we do that, what's your episode of the week, Tel? We only had 2 shows to talk about because everything else was on break for the new year, obviously.
I'm gonna go ahead and say
hello.
Yo.
My fault. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say Love Flops.
Okay.
Easy W for that episode. It's so it didn't flop.
Really good rap. I would agree with that. For me, Eminence and Shadows was my favorite episode. Very, very creative episode. I'm looking forward to more of that. I'm glad we got more of it coming. So that is going to be one I think is my episode of the week. Is definitely one that is very. I don't know, man. It's starting to pick back up again. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
I'm starting to like the way it looks.
I liked how our character kind of handled the situation. We can talk about that later. But
yeah, absolutely. It's going to come in the review in the second half of the show. I'm going to explain the review later. I just got everything put up for that, so I'm ready to go. But Theo, let's get started with this top 5, man. Who you want to go first, or what's up?
I got to go with something that's not on everybody's radar, but I know Mike Check Waifu is going to be all here for. Misfit of the Demon King Academy. I feel like that's a Mike Check Waifu staple at this point. Yes. Y'all know we love it. I know Voldigo, we love him too. So yeah, super hyped for that one.
I agree. I think that's easily probably Mike Check Waifu as a podcast most anticipated. No, let me see where I'm gonna go here. I'm just looking at the top. We just using AnyList as we always do, AnyList.co, and I just typed in for browser, just hit the year and nothing else. So I got the whole year put up. For me, I'm gonna go with for number 5, and this is something that's coming out very, very soon. And from the time we're recording, it's actually in 5 days, and that's Nier Automata version 1.1a, which is definitely probably my most anticipated for the winter season. Because again, I love that fucking game so very much. I told myself I was going to turn it back on and then get through some of those other 25 other endings. Actually, I think I got like 20 endings left, but I am absolutely looking forward to it. Because for one thing, if anybody has ever played Nier Automata, the video game, the music, my God, the music is going to be mind blowing if they got the same composer that they used for the video game. And no matter what, even if it's the old Nier that got remade recently, the music, you will be fucking captivated by the music. Not only that, is that it's done by A1 Pictures. And for those of you who know anime studios that know A1 Pictures does Sword Art. Sword Art it looks fucking incredible. Not only do they do Sword Art, but they do a bunch of other stuff that looks extremely good. They're literally top 3 studios. They're like, it's like Ufotable, Mappa, A1 Pictures, and it's literally in that order. So I think you can't go wrong with A1 Pictures, and Nier Automata is going to be absolutely gorgeous. Music is going to be absolutely incredible, and it's going to captivate you every week on some Made in Abyss kind of shit. That's how much I believe.
True.
This music is fabulous. So number 4 for you.
I would like to stick with A1 Pictures.
Okay.
And talk about Solo Leveling.
At number 4.
Yeah. I'm putting it at number 4 because like it's not like I'm not putting this in any specific order. I'm just putting Solo Leveling.
You're not even putting it in no order. That's crazy.
No, because I thought we was doing 5 as a unit.
Oh, okay.
We doing 5 apiece.
5 apiece, yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's fine. That's fine. We can keep it. We can keep it going.
All right. Go ahead.
You ain't got nothing else to say about Solo Leveling?
Solo Leveling. I don't even. It's an amazing.
Manhwa.
It's not even an isekai. It's an amazing manhwa, but it's like it has that isekai feel without actually being an isekai. More or less, it's like a reverse isekai.
That's true.
It's if you haven't read it, I don't really want to spoil it because I feel like you're in for a treat. I'm Song Jin-woo.
Yeah.
A goat. Hard to say he isn't.
I feel extremely bad to say this. But I regret reading it. Only because
I understand.
Only because I don't get to experiences like everybody else, because I know exactly what the fuck is gonna happen. I mean, through and through, like without a doubt, it's gonna be fucking massive. It's gonna be huge. For my number 4, kind of easy to go this route, but I am gonna go this route. And funny enough, I know you're gonna pick that, so I'm not even gonna say that one. It's going to be a slice of life, okay?
Let's do it.
And it's Masamune-kun's Revenge R. Now, season 1 is one of my favorite seasons of slice of life because, again, I love the studio. If you don't know the synopsis of Masamune-kun's Revenge, just think about the title. It's about a student whose name is Masamune, who has a kid. This is not spoilers because this is in the synopsis, but who has a kid, was a big porky something or another. And his childhood friend who he had a crush on basically shut his shit down, like completely slapped him in the face when it came to his confession. And now what he did was, as a kid, after that happened to him, he dedicated himself to becoming as fit as possible. He worked out religiously and became top tier. Like, he became husbando material. And from there, he transfers to the same school as his childhood friend, and that's when the escapades ensue. And it's one of my favorite slice of lives of all time. It's really great. Silverlink Studios, a great studio, really good, funny slice of life romance comedy. Masamune-kun's Revenge. If you haven't watched season 1, watch it before season 2 comes out. You probably got a while. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that big time.
So are we leaving stuff like Bleach out?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Are we leaving stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen? Oh man.
It's up to you.
Sheesh. I'm gonna go with right now. My God. Oh my God, it's so good. Man. I'm leaving Nier off my list because you chose it already. Okay. I'm gonna go with Inspector season 2.
That's a good one.
Inspector is a you could say it's like a spiritual mystery horror kind of anime where they're more or less like going into the lore of like Japanese mythology and some of their spirits and how those things ascertain or come into real life. And then boom, we have a person trying to figure out how to solve the issues and riddles amongst these specters and whatnot and come to a conclusion. I think the stories for like each different specter that we've gotten from the first season was really dope. So I'm really interested to see how they go with this one, especially with how that ending sequence went with our, initially, I guess our overall bad guy. So, I mean, I think it's a creative series, and I'm just interested to really see where that next part gets us.
Yeah, absolutely. As something that got extremely Monster of the Week heavy, it was a fun kind of Monster of the Week kind of thing, though. Like, such a creative, unique spin on the Monster of the Week formula that you could not put it down, or at least I couldn't put it down. I know some people didn't like it that much, which is very curious to me. I have to go back and find out why those people didn't like it as much as we did, but very, very, very good show, I think, in my opinion. I don't think you can go wrong with it. So we're on my number 3, right?
Yep, your number 3.
Ooh-wee. This is definitely going to be higher on my list I should probably pull it before you do, though. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Just because it gives me an opportunity to talk about it. I mean, we both can talk about it, obviously, so it's no big deal there. But I'm gonna go with Jobless Reincarnation season 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, because obviously, Jobless Reincarnation is one of our favorites. From the day it fucking launched, I was fucking looking forward to it. Again, it's by a brand new studio formed just to create Jobless Reincarnation, which is
they did an amazing job.
Studio Bind, and they did some incredible work. So I think it goes without saying, Jobless Reincarnation is probably one of the most anticipated throughout the entire year for us. If it might be my number 2, to be honest, but. Yeah, actually, it might be my number 1, to be honest. But
yeah,
right now we just can't really say much else because a lot of stuff hasn't really been announced yet.
Yeah, and I also to piggyback off what Polo said, if you didn't choose it, I was gonna have to choose it next round because there's no way it goes any lower than number 2. Yeah. So I wanted to wait. Man, it's so good. Yeah, bro.
What you got for your number 2?
I'm gonna go with obviously JJK season 2.
Damn, number 2. I'm okay.
I didn't want to put it at number 1 because I feel like
that's a good one.
I feel like we need to put something else close to number 1. So I'm gonna choose probably this one as my number 1, just to kind of get things going. But yeah, JJK, man. There's not really much to say about it. It's actually just phenomenal heat. It actually does the world building and the storytelling relatively well for something that's a shonen that's action every single week. The characters don't seem like BS. I don't have to explain JJK to y'all because y'all already know.
Yeah. It's probably one of the better shonens that came out in recent years. I mean, there's 3, and the 3 that came out in recent years has been some of my favorite. And I'm gonna just say it. JJK, Fire Force, and Demon Slayer are the 3 shonens that I don't think can do no wrong right now. For my number 2, I think you're gonna pick this one as your number 1. So I don't want to do it, but I want to make sure it gets in there. But I'm not sure if it's gonna be in there.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Go ahead, bro.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
Link Click 2.
Okay.
Was it not going to be your number 1?
I was not going to choose that one, but I'm so happy that you picked it because I didn't even look to see that it was there, but I know it's there.
Yeah. Link Click 2. Obviously, we watched Link Click 1. We reviewed it. So make sure you search for the Link Click review in our podcast. But Link Click 2 is going to be special. I mean, they looking fire on the cover. Got our boy in a black suit. Looking clean. Looking like Michael Weston from Burn Notice. It's looking good though. It's looking good. There's a trailer out for it. So Link Click 2. If you haven't seen Link Click 1, it's very, very interesting concept with some supernatural powers that are extremely creative, and it has to do with time travel. That's all I'm gonna say about that, I guess. They do it in a very unique way. And it's a story it's actually a Chinese anime. So I mean, I guess we can't really necessarily call it anime because it's a Chinese animation. I don't know what they call. I have to ask what they call Chinese anime, but yeah, that's Link Click 2 is going to be my number 2 for sure. Dell just put his hand over his mouth, so I'm kind of curious. What's your number 1?
I can't put this one I'm about to say real quick as my number 1, but I did not know Ancient Magus Bride season 2 came out just this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually really enjoy that series.
Yeah,
but
it's a good one.
I when you make that, I was like, what? I'm so excited for that. But there's this anime that kind of is the reason behind Mic Check Waifu being here. So I'm going to put him on number 1. So Polo has a wonderful slot available for his number 1. Demon Slayer.
Yes.
We don't know what's coming. We didn't read it.
Thank God, dude. I'm so happy.
Oh my God. Dude, this is about to be insane.
This is the one time where I'm so excited that we didn't read it again.
Yes. It's almost like how we love enjoying Fire Force so much, like you said.
Yes.
Demon Slayer is just like that. We didn't read it. We don't know what's coming. And man, when I tell you, like, I wasn't disappointed with the Entertainment District arc.
Not at all.
We knew it was to come in terms of like action. Man, I'm excited to see what they give us for the next part.
And doesn't that just feels the best? Like, as an anime podcast, to know that we're going into something knowing nothing. Like, I know you read My Hero, and again, My Hero isn't really that big of a deal because it's not as important to us as something like Demon Slayer is, because like he said, this is the reason why, like, after episode, I think it was 10 of Demon Slayers, when I hit up Tell, like, we should do a fucking podcast, because I just wanted somebody to talk about. Demon Slayer is so important to us that I feel like it's going to be amazing. And it gets so much hate. I don't really care about the hate it gets anymore. I see some ridiculous shit like somebody said and Demon Slayer Bleach is just a ripoff of Demon Slayer is a ripoff of Bleach, or whatever the fuck they were. Whatever. I don't like all those conversations, and this is probably why our social media presence seems to have been like dwindling, is because we just don't care about these nonsense comparisons. Demon Slayer is good, and shit you can tell us about it that's bad. If you want to debate it, you'll be wasting your time, but I think it's like one of the great shows. Now, Jobless Reincarnation would have been number one, and this probably would have been number three, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it now just because I wanted the opportunity to talk about it, and that's going to be Tony Kawa, Over the Moon with You, for season 2, for my number one. Tony Kawa is another incredible slice of life that not a lot of people watched, and it's season 1 is about, without spoilers, and this happens in the first episode, but this kid who, not necessarily a kid because he's graduated high school, but he meets this girl, and he almost, I think he gets hit by a car, or almost get hit by a car, and this girl basically saves him, and she's extremely pretty, and he's like, I don't know who you are, but let's date, or something like that. And he spontaneously confessed to this girl after she saved his life, and from there she's like, well, the only way I'm gonna go out with you is if you marry me. And that's what they do. They instantly get married, and now they live in the life of a married couple, but again, shit ensues. So it does the romance slice of life in an extremely backwards way. That's so much fun, man, with 2 very likable characters and a very likable cast of ensemble of different characters. It was one of my favorite slices of life. So I think of 2020, I think it was.
It might have been 2020, either late 2020 or early 2021.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it was 2021. Yeah, so it was 2 years ago. Yeah, here it is right here. 2020, 2 years ago. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, well, at this point, 3 years ago, whatever. But it was a great show. Great show.
And I wanted to leave that open for you. That's why I wanted to make sure I got Demon Slayer so you could choose something like another slice of life to really give us something good. Y'all know Polo is a slice of life specialist. I'm trying to get in that bag, so I'm getting there.
Speaking of slice of life specialists, there's a couple of shows that we watched too that we can throw in right now. So tell me about the show you watched this week. I don't know how many episodes.
I only watched one because I was starving for anime. I didn't realize that so few anime released this week. So I watched Recovery of the MMO Junkie, first episode, to see where it goes. First of all, I thought old girl was gonna die from the jump. I'm like, oh, this is about to be an easy car. She's about to get hit by a truck coon at the convenience store, and she gonna be in the MMO, right? Nope, didn't happen. Sorry, spoilers. But it's very wholesome. It seems like a very just like lighthearted and fun kind of series so far. I'm actually already drawn in and excited to see what keeps what continues to come. It's actually like, I think it's a very fresh twist on what I thought I was about to get.
Yeah, and funny enough, because we talked about it off air about some of my taste in anime and why I don't like certain kinds of anime. But for some reason, when I watched this one, I couldn't put it down. And it was it's everything that I hate about this style. And I'm not going to talk about it here because I think that's a little bit personal to me. So don't mind me, but it's everything I hate, but I love this show. And maybe it's just the execution was so good, but I really like it. I'm really glad you watched it. I hope you finish it and we can talk about it more next week.
It's about to be done real soon.
Even though next week is looking crazy.
Right.
So like Estel said, man, it wasn't much to watch this week since everything was on hiatus and pretty much is done. But I will say that I've watched a couple of old things. I've been going through and adding to my anime in progress list, making that bigger. So Crystal, don't hate me. Don't hate me. But there's a couple of shows that I added on there that's like I'm very interested in watching. And again, this all sparks off of the show that we're reviewing in the second half of the show, and that's Love Flops. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be picking up these shows, or I would have dropped these shows after one episode. So one that I'm watching right now is called If Her Flag Breaks. Very interesting concept. Now it's a it's a harem school slice of life romance comedy that kind of does the parody thing on harem romance comedies. But the difference is it's very unique because what it does is it's about this main character who has this overarching story about himself. This overarching story about himself is extremely dark. But basically he has the power to see the flags of anybody that he interacts with. Okay, so what I mean by flags is if you're familiar with watching anime, like as we all are, is you ever heard of something called a death flag? So whenever somebody says, I'm gonna make it out of here, we're gonna be just fine, and when we get out of this, we're going to go grab a drink at the bar. That's always called a death flag. So whenever somebody says, when we make it out of this, let's go grab a drink at the bar, that's a death flag, meaning that they're probably not going to make it out of this. So that's kind of what a death flag is. And he has the ability to see that. So whenever he meets a character, let's say he meets a girl character, the girl says, "Hi, lovely to meet you. I can't wait to get to know you." He sees a flag pop over her head. This is going to be a friendship flag. So she's trying to become friends with me. Now, with this power, that anybody that he sees a flag for ends up with misfortune, basically. So if he has a friendship flag with somebody, then there's a possibility that something bad is going to happen to that girl because everybody he's interacted with that got a flag, something bad has happened to him because he's been exposed to this extreme dark power. So what he does is he tries to break every flag that he comes across. So every girl that tries to get to know him, get out of my face. Every dude that tries to become friends, get out of my face. Until he meets a certain amount of characters or a certain character that does this, and basically it changes how he sees flags because he can't break her flag. One girl just doesn't have a flag, period, and it kind of goes on into like deeper and deeper concepts. Now the concept is sick because like there's this backstory of him because. Spoilers for the first episode, which you learn at the very end of the first episode, is you learn that he has the death flag, a very big and sturdy death flag. And his goal is to figure out how to break his own death flag. He has no idea how to do it. So you kind of go through and figure it out. So very interesting concept. It came out in April of 2014, 13 episodes long with no sequels, I don't think.
And what's the name of this one?
It's called Kanjo ga Flag wa Oritora, or in parentheses, If Her Flag Breaks. Yeah, whatever the Japanese name is.
Yeah, bro. I was
Just check my profile on Anilist.co. You'll see it there if you're interested in checking it out. But
yeah, that actually sounds.
It's mostly comedy.
Mad cool, but it sounds mad cool though. Like if you think about that concept in itself.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So now it's time for the review. Now let me explain to review before we go into break so you guys don't just leave this episode because we know that the second half of the episode always gets listened to a lot later by a lot of you. So the review for Love Flops, the way we're going to do it after the break, we're going to talk spoiler-free talks at the beginning of Love Flops, giving our overarching thoughts of the story and everything like that, what we thought about it, what we thought about the characters, etc. Then we go deep into the review. When we go deep into the review, we will give you the spoiler warning, and then we'll break it down into 5 categories. If you don't know how our review goes, this is exactly how it goes. The 5 categories that we review individually each host individually reviews our pacing. We review it from a 20-point scale, which is like 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, etc. So it's pacing, plot, animation, sound design, and character. Those are the 5 categories that we each individually rate and give a score to. After we give those scores, we then tallied up the overall score of each host to give an overarching score of that particular anime, in this case, Love Flops. Then we take those 2 scores and we combine those and average those out to give the official Mic Check Waifu score. So, with that being said, please look forward to that because this is going to be a lot of fun. Remember, we are not going to spoil Love Flops at the beginning, so stick around. You can listen to that. And enjoy it. Actually, you can probably listen to the whole episode and still be just fine. But we are going to go into some spoilers at the end and share how we feel. So, before we get into break, it's time for the recommendation roulette. Recommendation. Oh, man. Is it my turn to roll? Yeah, it's my turn.
Yes, sir. It's your turn to roll, brother.
So I got to do random number generator. All right. $2015.
Bet.
Let's see here.
We have Boom.
Ooh, is that too popular though? It's a lot of ones that's probably too popular, maybe. Interesting. Okay. All right. You go first.
All right. Is Blood Blockade too popular?
No, I don't think so. I think you can get away with that one.
All right. I'm gonna go with Blood Blockade.
Pretty show.
Essentially, yeah, it's a beautiful show. Essentially, it's about a young man who finds himself in possession of a specific unique item that makes him the subject of being, targeted. Like people want to get him, and essentially he uses said item to overcome those who are targeting him. It's more or less. It's like, think of he has a special. I don't know. Should I spoil it?
I don't think so.
Okay, then yeah, just it's a fun, full of action kind of show. If you like action, you like a little bit of strategy. It's not, I'm not gonna say super in depth in strategy and whatnot, but it does have some cool strategy moments and stuff like that. Yeah, check it out. Fun action anime.
There's so many I can recommend this year that I've seen. Holy shit! But I'm gonna recommend, obviously, A Slice of Life, and it's gonna be a slice of life that I watched a long time ago before we started doing this podcast. It has a 77% on AniList, but it's called My Love Story. Now, My Love Story is about this guy who's this giant dude, big dude. He's like 6'7", and in Japan standard, that's fucking huge. And he has a really, really big heart, and he's super nice and he's super sweet. And basically, he meets this girl who he's like super huge over or whatever, and he saves her from a harasser on the train, and basically they become best friends. And maybe more, who knows? But it's a slice of life romance that is extremely fun to watch. And this big hulking dude is think about it as Beauty and the Beast, basically, but better, essentially. I really do love this show. It's actually a really, really, really good one. 24 episodes, so it's a long one if you check this out. But My Love Story is a very, very, very good romance comedy that I enjoyed. Might be due for a rewatch. All right, we're going to take this quick break, and when we come back, we are going to review Love Flops. So, that being said, Happy New Year. We'll be right back after these. And welcome back to episode 185 of Mic Check Waifu Waifu. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Mic Check Waifu and on Instagram at Mic Check Waifu Waifu and on TikTok at Mic Check Waifu Waifu as well. We appreciate your support there. And let's get to this review of Love Flops. Again, we're going to start off spoiler free, give our overall thoughts of Love Flops, and just kind of discuss it here. So to be honest, Love Flops was the biggest surprise. Well, no, it was a surprise. I won't say the biggest because still, More Than a Married Couple was more of a surprise for me.
Mm-hmm.
But what Love Flops did was very, very, very good. Like very, very good. And they didn't. And to be honest, let's just talk about the beginning. The beginning wasn't good. Like spoiler free. It's normally people give episodes 3 before they turn off a show.
Right.
And there was something about these episodes that kept me invested. I don't know what it was. I do know what it was. We'll talk about it later. But at first I'm just like, I don't know if I want to watch this. Because again, we kind of, this particular winter season, or it's a fall season, we kind of prided ourselves on not forcing ourselves to watch bad anime. We didn't have to. Like you gave up Shinobi no Itoki. I gave up the Sword Isekai one or whatever it was. Like we were just giving up stuff and just making fall more palatable for us to watch stuff. And it was nice. I'm not going to lie. It was nice not to have 16, 17 shows a week to watch. And some of them just we weren't that invested in. You know what I'm saying? So while we did find some good stuff, Love Flops was one that was definitely a surprise. And I'm so glad you picked it up after I mentioned the flop, essentially, because I think it's one that everybody should watch.
Yeah. So, Love Flops, like Polo said at the beginning, it leaves you, I'm not going to say it leaves you that way. It more or less takes you as you're unassuming. Like you come into this anime and you know nothing. It literally treats you like you know nothing, but then it hits you with information. It was just really cool to kind of see where it goes and how it took that, which I think is, looking at it, is a very powerful story element. But it had one of the nicest, like I'll say, treats in an anime that I've gotten in a while.
I wouldn't call it nice because it wasn't nice. It was very mean, to be honest. Kind of heartbreaking, even, right? Like, yeah, very much so, actually. I mean, the fact that they even, again, you would watch this shit and you'd be like, what the fuck are they talking about? If you just watch episode 1 through 6, you'd be like, what the fuck am I even here for? And then, I mean, to be honest, you kind of like the characters kind of grow on you a little bit, like watching it over time. It took a little bit for me to get used to it. And I'm like, okay, so now I know what I'm watching. I'm just watching this mindless harem, goofy, weird shit. And then when the shit starts to get completely outrageous, I'm like, okay, so now I know what this is. This is just, and for all intents and purposes, or lack of better words, garbage. It's a garbage show to watch. And then you're like, oh shit, it's not. It's not at all. It's not even close. It was a big surprise. And I hope the mean score picked up. I mean, the mean score started off like when I was watching it, those first 6 episodes, I promise you, I remember seeing this because I felt the same way. It was a 55, the mean score on AniList. Mm-hmm. Now that the show is finished, let me just make sure that I'm on the show. It's a 60. It went up a whole 10 basis points, which is hard to do on a anime aggregate site because people are harsh, especially when it comes to something like this and the way it started. Because I'm telling you, it was weird, bro. It was definitely weird. Unusual. Yeah, it was off-putting. Very off-putting. Very off-putting. Even in the sense, if you like ecchi harems, you just even the Rob likes like me, you know.
And I would say weird. I'm only saying weird in the sense of like nothing really seemed cohesive until it was all cohesive.
Yes, nothing seemed cohesive at all. It wasn't even close. Let's get into the review part of it. Now, we're going to do some spoilers and some story beats. You can still generally listen to this part and go into it, but it may be a little bit harder to discuss this without going into spoilers for the review and how we exactly feel about this. So there are going to be some spoilers here. You can fast forward to the end. Maybe we'll just put the score out. Maybe I'll just put the score out with the notes on like Twitter or something like that, so you can see what we gave it without having to listen to it, and then come back and listen to the full review and why we felt this way. So I think this is actually the first time ever I wasn't just looking at the score first, watching it, and then coming back and listening to the review. To be honest, because I think that for this it particularly makes sense. So we're going to go into spoiler of Love Flops. We're going to do the review, and again, the patented review require us to rate 5 categories. We're gonna start off with animation first. Rate 5 categories and discuss it in details and how we felt about each particular aspect of it, average it out, and then combine those scores to give you a Mic Check Waifu official scale, a scale scored. So without further ado, let's do further. Tell. All right. Now, starting off with animation. Now, for those of you that don't know, I mean, I shouldn't have to explain it, but animation is the direction, the scenery, the art style, the overall visual fidelity, and what we thought about it. We give it a score of 1 through 10 using a 20-point scale.
So I kind of feel like my score might be a little bit higher than Polo's on the animation side.
Interesting.
And I'm only saying that because I do think my score, when I think about it, is a little high, but then I think about other things, right? I think what this anime did so well is differentiating a dream versus reality, and how you really like visually you can feel yourself in one or the other. So like when one is supposed to seem like a dream state and one is supposed to feel like reality, you really clearly see those differences in terms of like color, tone. And this is just like, I'm just talking about like visually how they present these things is very well done in terms of that. Now we also look at things like the actual motion in it and everything like that. That's cool. It's not, a lot of this isn't breaking like any records, or is it like by any means the highest tier of animation. It's not up there. But I do really, like I said, I want to emphasize how they really took a really good look at reality versus like a dream and how these things correlate to each other more or less. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm giving the score an 8 in terms of animation. Okay.
Yeah, as far as animation for me goes, what Tell mentioned is technically right, but it didn't happen until the second half of the show. The show was regular at the beginning, completely normal. The problem is it was very inconsistent for me personally with the animation. Mm-hmm. With nothing too special at all, wasn't nothing too flashy. Even the flashy stuff was very basic for me. So I can't go as high as an 8. I think an 8 is, again, this is subjective. So I think an 8 is ridiculous. The animation was extremely just normal. It looked pretty good. Like, it looked pretty. Something I will consider an 8 just for perspective is More Than a Married Couple. I will consider that animation an 8 for something that's a basic slice of life. This, even with the action that it was in, like, there was a scene where it was a magical girl situation and she was fighting against these bots that were trying to put these chastity belts on all the males and blow up their penises. So when that happened, it was like, it was just normal. It wasn't even anything too special. I wasn't looking at it like, oh, that shit looks sweet. Never once in this show that I said, oh, that shit looks sweet. So for me, I'm gonna give this a 6.5, easily 6.5, no higher than that. Because the animation wasn't that special. Moving on to sound design, I'm gonna start off with this one, but sound design is soundtrack, overall sound effects, etc. How the sounds transition with each other, how the sound effects sounded when it came to like action and things like that. Again, nothing to write home about. Sound design wise, I can't remember anything about it. Other than the intro, I thought was pretty nice. Pretty good intro. I only listen to it like two or three times, which is more than I usually do it because I only get one time from me usually. But I wanted to listen to this one, intro, outro, both a couple of times, and I thought it was okay. Again, nothing special. I did like some of the way they included the computer generated sounds when certain situations would happen, like at the end, towards the end, specifically towards the end where she was like where they were being deleted and stuff. Sounded kind of cool, but again, nothing to write home about. I think it was about the same as animation. It wasn't anything too special to me personally. So for sound design, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6.5. Not an 8.5, 6.5.
All right. So on the sound design side, I agree with Polo almost entirely. There was nothing special to me about the sound design of this, and the intro, outro to me, completely forgotten what they sound like. I think my sound design rating, because the only thing I really liked about the anime in terms of sound to me was the voices of the characters, but sometimes those characters could have been annoying, but they were like the best thing to me. So that's it. And if that can save it, the highest I can give it, to me, in my opinion, is a 5.5.
Okay. All right, 5.5. All right. Next up is pacing. Tell's going to start off with pacing, and pacing obviously means episode to episode, how strong the story development was, and how it felt flowing from one episode to the other.
So I think that initially my feeling for the pacing of this anime was that it has the worst pacing of any anime I felt like I was watching. Mm-hmm. I could not understand for any point of this anime what was going on. Yeah, like they didn't seem like they were providing me anything meaningful at all. It was Hamtaro, but not Hamtaro. It felt like I was supposed to meaninglessly watch this. But I also feel like once you get to like episode 6, the end of that, into episode 7, it kind of pissed me off because it felt like that whole idea that I just had kind of got flipped on its head. In terms of how it should be enjoyed. Because I almost feel like there was no other way that they could have done this and made this as enjoyable. So I couldn't give it a perfect score in pacing, so I gave it an 8.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, the pacing stunk. It was a real bad pacing, to be honest. I look at pacing a little bit different until we established it. So I think on our last review that we did, pacing is episode to episode, and the episode to episode was intentionally. Now this is on purpose. So take this with exactly what I'm calling it. The show paced it this way for that flip, for that major decision drop, or the major plot point that completely flips the show on its head. But I can't give a show a good score on pacing if the pacing wasn't good, even if it was intentional. Mm-hmm. Looking at it objectively, it was intentionally bad for a reason. So for me personally, I have to give it. It's when I think about my scores, I think about it in grade terms because that's a little bit easier for me to manage. A D or a C, and I'm a lean towards C because it gets a little bit of leeway for the flop. But to be honest, I was tempted to give this another 6.5, but because I know the flop, I go with the higher side of the grade, and I'm gonna go with the C. Because to be honest, yes, it was very bad pacing. Because watching this, it felt meaningless. There was only 13 episodes. 6 of them are literally just fodder until you get to the end of the 6th one, and I can't commend it for that. But I know it was intentional, so I can't fault it for that either. So it's a hard thing to rate. Probably the hardest thing I had to rate ever in my entire life. But I have to say I feel true about it. I feel really true about that. And then moving on. Yeah, it's a 7. So moving on to what's next on this list is the plot. Luckily enough, I get to start off with the plot. So the plot already, overall thoughts on the storytelling, the writing, the etc. Now this is where it again flips it on its fucking head, because at the beginning, writing trash. All of it is garbage. But this time you cannot plot against this story, pun intended, I guess, because of the simple fact is there was intention behind everything that happened at the very beginning of this plot to continue on forward. And it's very, very, very integral to the overarching story on why this plot is the way it is. And I think it's, again, what keeps the show apart. Now, what I mentioned earlier in a spoiler-free half is there was one thing that kept you watching, and it was always one thing. Each girl, which was 5 girls, each girls got their own moment with Asahi being the main character. The moment that they got with Asahi triggered, at the end of the moment that they had, triggered a flashback. And it was a flashback of them in their childhood. That kept me watching because I'm like, wait. Mm-hmm. Why is every last girl, all 5 of these characters, having a childhood flashback of Asahi? I had no idea why. And to be honest, I don't think nobody would see it coming if you just have no idea what the fuck you're looking at. If you didn't listen to us at all and you just turned this shit on, you just watched it straight through, nobody could have predicted. Nobody could predict it. I don't give a fuck how good you think you are. You couldn't predict what the hell was coming up. So when that happened, it literally blew my fucking mind because it changed everything. Like after they had that flashback, after I kept watching, I got to episode 6 and the shit flipped. I'm like, oh, now it all makes sense. These girls were a piece of a construct that was created by the creator of this future world's AI system. And it was his best friend the entire time. And that fucking blew my mind. And from there, when he exits the VR, the virtual world, he realized that his best friend is dead. And the reason why he went there was to escape that. And it fucking blew my mind because he was depressed. It showed fucking how attached he ended up growing to these girls at first, even though he hated being there with them at first. It was a pain of it. It was just beautiful. It was just a really well done plot, even if the beginning of it was complete garbage on purpose for that particular reason. And I think that intentional, I wouldn't say bad writing because it wasn't. It was intelligent from the entire start. I think that's the best part of this entire, the best part of the entire show. So for me, the plot gets a 9, flat 9. It's easily the best part of the show. Yeah, for sure.
So everything Polo said, I wholeheartedly agree with. That's all exactly how you kind of look at the show, because you get this idea that this show, like he said, is meaningless. Like, you're watching this and we understand the characters and we get this moment of something that's interesting. Like, what is this in the background? Mm-hmm. What is it they're trying to relate to us? And then it's back to the mayhem and BS. And then you get that moment again and it's back to the mayhem and BS. And then we finally get to where these things, like I said, get to make sense. Mm-hmm. And this is why the pacing was so important to me, but the plot here as well. How they set that up for us, how they actually showed that story, like giving us the drops of the story, and then boom, here is an actual significant problem, and then boom, here's the real thing. I entirely love that. Like, to me, it solidified it as something that I would recommend because of that. Even just to like look at people's perspective on how this thing hits. Yeah. I gave the plot an 8. It was really good to me. It was hard to even, 8.
Got it. All right. And then moving on, you are going to start with the characters. And the characters are how much you like them, how much you grew attached to the characters, sides or mains.
I really enjoyed, I'm going to say most of these characters. Well, there's not really any characters in here I really didn't enjoy. I thought they were all kind of funny or good at their points. And when we had our moments with them in every episode, I'm not going to say I fell in love with the characters in said episodes. I thought some of them were cool. But I don't think we had enough time with them to say, let's say, like, actually fall in love with them as a viewer. But our main character and how he felt about these characters, what we got to perceive through him, I thought was really good. How the characters acted, I thought they were all pretty interesting in their own ways. I don't think that this, like, some of this could have been pulled off I mean, I guess even if we didn't really know the character's name, maybe it couldn't have been it could have been pulled off. But I gave the characters as an overall. I thought they were good characters. I also gave it an 8.
Okay. For me, it was the only other redeeming part about it, because I start to like the characters as it went on, more and more and more as I continue to watch the show. I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, it's weird, and then it would drop a little hint. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep watching, because that little hint, I'm curious to see what this childhood little flashback is, because they can't just leave it like that, even if the show is kind of satire at first. So I'm continuing to watch it, and then I start to like Mafunga, or whatever her name was, a teacher. I started to like the girl who couldn't write Japanese. Amelia. I started to really like who they were, and specifically my favorite one, who ended up getting probably the less screen time out of all of them, was Io.
Ilya?
No. Io? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she ended up being my favorite one out of all of them, even though she had the less screen time. But I absolutely loved her character. And again, if it wasn't for the plot literally carrying the characters, maybe I wouldn't like it as much. But I think the characters, and especially the way it wrapped, I love the way it wrapped. The manga is still releasing, so I might actually read it.
I feel the same way,
because I don't think we're getting any more. I think I want to read it, and just because I'm invested in these characters now. So for me, it's hard to say the characters are anything less than an 8. I think I agree with you there.
Okay.
That's interesting.
I did want to say that I could have justified giving the characters a higher score, but what you just said made perfect sense to me. Ioi, I don't know exactly how to say her name. As a standalone character for me, she was the only one that actually 100% could stand alone. That seemed like her own individual character. The other ones felt like they needed each other. And I feel like if we needed more of that, because technically, let's be real, the characters all kind of feel like one person.
Which they are.
Right. But I always felt like the character that could stand alone, even in the wrap of the season. Oh my God. She carried the ending.
Yes.
And she's not even like, the main character, so it was really cool to see, that.
And funny enough is, not only is she the first character he meets on the first episode, she's also the last character he sees on going to see in the last episode, because she rings the doorbell. So it's the last character we see, I guess you should say. But I think it's fire, man. I think it's absolutely fire. I think the entire show, if it gets another season, which it won't, probably, I would watch it and I couldn't recommend it more. Like, it's a hard recommendation of a show, even if the beginning is complete satire bullshit that you are probably gonna be like, why the fuck am I watching this? But with that being said, let's wrap up this review. Now, I'm gonna go through the scores on what each of us gave it, and give you the overall averages. So now, starting off with animation, I gave it a 6.5. Tel gave it an 8. Sound design, I gave it a 6.5. Tel gave it a 5.5. Pacing, I gave it a 7. Tel gave it an 8. Plot, I gave it a 9. Tel gave it an 8. Characters, I gave it an 8. Tel gave it an 8, which makes my overall score a 7.4, and Tel's overall score a 7.5, which makes Mike Check's Waifu's overall score for Love Flops a 7.45. So
we rarely ever have scores that close.
Yeah, which is funny because you gave animation an 8 for some reason, but I digress. Let's go to the document of all of our reviews. Let's see, docs. That's the one page I didn't have up.
All right. Which we start from the bottom?
You got the auto reviews put up?
Yeah. We only reviewed 27 anime. This is number 28.
Did you add it in the list yet?
Nah, not yet. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, go ahead and pop it in there, because I got like 17 Google accounts.
What was the overall score?
7.45.
7.45. Oh,
Damn, that's crazy. I see where it's going. I got you. I got it. Oh, storage is full. I can make no edits. Okay. All right. Well, let me just do it this way then. All right. So to cover our reviews, let's see here. I'm gonna start off at number 1. We have 28 anime in this list now. Number 1 anime starting off is Summertime Rendering with a perfect 10, rightfully so. Number 2, Astro Lost in Space. Number 10, perfect score, rightfully so. Number 3, Clannad at a 9.8. Number 4, the My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu series, 9.45. Number 5, Fire Force, 9.35. Number 6, Grimgar, A Fantasy in Ash, 9.3. Promised Neverland, season 1. We just don't even have a score there anymore. Number 8, Vinland Saga, 9.25. Number 9, Arcane, 9.2, which is the Netflix League of Legends show. Number 10, Demon Slayer at 8.8. Number 11, that's Beastars at 8.85. That's Cell's fault. Number 12, Erased, 8.75. Number 13, Steins Gate, 8.65. Number 14, Vox Machina, The Legend of Vox Machina, Amazon Prime, cartoon, but anime, whatever, 8.6. Number 15, the Demon Slayer movie, 8.5. Actually, is that, I'm confused. That's just the movie, right?
Yeah, I believe that's just the movie.
Just the movie, which is was the Mugen Train. 8.5. No, Entertainment District. That's the whole season. Entertainment District. Yeah, ED stands for Entertainment District. 8.5. Number 16, Made in Abyss, 8.5, which we have to review season 2, which would make that probably higher. Number 17, Darwin's Game at 8.5. Number 18, Link Click, 8.45. Number 19, Invincible, the Amazon Prime show, 8.45. Number 20, Bungo Stray Dogs, 8.4. It's all the way up until season 3. So we got to add the season 4 review to that to see what that score averages out to be. Number 21, Chivalry of a Failed Knight, 7.95, which is a better show than that score, deserves, but I digress. Gangsta at number 22, 7.95. My Hero Season 4, 7.9. Tokyo Revengers, 7.85, which is about right. Dr. Stone, 7.8. And number 20, this is where our newly reviewed Love Flops would be, but that is 7.45. So Love Flop 7.45 at number 26. Number 27, Banana Fish, 7.3. And number 27, 91 Days, 6.4. Now, what's funny is that I would recommend Love Flops over. Oh shit! Oh, well, apparently we got space back. But I would recommend Love Flops over Dr. Stone. I would recommend it over My Hero Season 4. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll probably recommend it over Darwin's Game.
I would recommend, over everything but what hits, what it hits right at the bottom. As soon as it gets to Made in Abyss, I can't recommend it above that, but it's like...
Correct.
Well, except for Promised Neverland, but everything else, yeah.
It's such a good... It's actually a better show than it deserves. But I mean, like, listen... That's how the reviews go, we review it like this because we try our best to give as objective as possible. That's why there's 5 different categories. That's why you can have an art style or an animation style that's a 1, but you can have a characters and a plot that's a 10, and that completely flips the score. So did you write down the scores?
Yeah, so okay. I got the scores on. Yeah,
just keep that in your iPad, because I think what we should start doing, and there's a lot of ones we don't have that for, but you just keep the overall scores and to kind of go back and revisit them on why what is rated what. Like Banana Fish, to be honest, should probably be lower. I don't even know why it's as high as it is. Because I can't, like, that show is awful. I hate that fucking show. And 91 Days, I think is appropriate. I think a 64% basically is what it is, and it's rightfully so. That show stinks. But yeah, I digress. Yeah, man, I love Flops, man. 7.45, which yes. I got to refresh this so I can try to edit that in there now. Here we go. 7.
I didn't know the story was gonna come through so fast.
Yeah, shit was instant.
I was trying to edit it, it didn't let me do it.
Yeah, I had to refresh. There it is. It's crazy because we have one Hall of Shame one where we try to do our reverse review, where we reviewed it, but everything was negative instead of positive.
Yeah,
Which was fun to do. And that's Demon Lord Retry, which is probably one of the worst shows of all time.
easily.
Easily. So yeah, I mean, with this, that's a wrap. I think one of the things we should probably eliminate is the recap
Okay.
and just kind of like vamp off until we can. I'm at Polo Born Fly on all social media.
I'm at King Teliano on all social media.
You can follow our social medias at Might Check Waifu on Twitter and at Might Check Waifu on Instagram and TikTok. And as always, Happy New Year. And Might Check.
So you throwing curveballs now, I see.
You're now tuned into Mic Check Waifu Waifu. Is that you? Is that you? Is that you? Is that you? Is that you?